I know many of you probably enjoy drinking coffee. Some of you might even drink it every day. So today, let's dive into an interesting question. What happens if you drink coffee every day? We all know that coffee contains a key substance called caffeine, which is the main reason it keeps us awake and alert. Caffeine is found in the fruits and leaves of coffee and tea plants. It acts as a natural insecticide, paralyzing or even killing bugs that munch on those leaves or fruits. Basically, caffeine is a neurotoxin, a natural pesticide that protects the plants. But for humans, it works a bit differently. When we consume caffeine, it stimulates our central nervous system, making us feel more awake, sharpening our focus, and enhancing our alertness. This is why so many people, especially those who work in mental jobs, love coffee. Why does this increased alertness matter? Well, in nature, being more alert helps animals avoid being attacked. For us humans, one of the main reasons we need that extra alertness is for driving. So if you ever feel drowsy while driving, grabbing a cup of coffee is a smart move. Now the big question is it safe to drink coffee every day? The short answer, it has both benefits and drawbacks. Let's start with the good news. One of the biggest benefits of drinking coffee is that it can lower your risk of death. A study published in Annals of Internal Medicine in July 2022 looked at coffee consumption and mortality. This research, based on data from 170,000 people provided by the UK Biobank, found that drinking coffee can significantly reduce what's called all-cause mortality, meaning the risk of death from any cause, disease, accidents, you name it. Specifically, people who regularly drink black coffee, just plain coffee, no sugar or cream, had a 16% to 29% lower risk of death compared to those who don't drink coffee at all. And this applies regardless of how much coffee they drank. Just drinking it lowered their risk. But there's a catch. The relationship between coffee intake and mortality follows a U-shaped curve. That means drinking a little coffee doesn't lower the risk much, but drinking more results in a big drop in mortality, up to a point. After that, if you keep drinking more, the benefit starts to decrease again. The sweet spot? Around 2.5 to 4.5 cups a day. For reference, that's about 270 milliliters per cup. Now, what about coffee with sugar? Surprisingly, people who drank coffee with sugar actually had a lower risk of death than those who drank black coffee. The lowest mortality rate among sugar coffee drinkers was a 31% reduction, compared to the 29% for black coffee. However, this only holds if you drink less than 4.5 cups a day. Drink more than that, and your risk of death goes up by about 5% compared to non-coffee drinkers. So, if you like sweetened coffee, keep it moderate. The magic number for sweetened coffee is between 1.5 and 2.5 cups a day, slightly lower than for black coffee. And when we say sugar, we're talking about just 3 grams of sugar per cup. That's less than half a sugar cube. In reality, most coffee shop drinks contain much more sugar, so be mindful of how much you add. A little sugar could actually lower your risk more than black coffee, but overdo it and you lose those benefits. What about coffee with artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose? Unfortunately, studies show that adding artificial sweeteners cancels out the mortality-lowering effects of coffee. So, if you're aiming for health benefits, it's best to skip the sweeteners altogether. I know it's surprising that sweetened coffee could reduce mortality more than black coffee, but it's not just about physical health. There could be mental or emotional factors at play too. Still, if you can handle the bitterness, sticking to black coffee is probably the safer bet, since the difference is small, 31% versus 29%. Interestingly, Japan conducted a similar study back in 2015, tracking 90,000 people aged 40 to 69 for 18 years. Their findings were almost identical. Drinking coffee was linked to lower mortality, with the strongest effects seen in those who drank 3 to 4 cups a day. Again, the relationship followed a U-shaped curve, showing that moderate consumption is key. So, the takeaway is that habitual coffee drinkers tend to live longer, especially if they stick to 3 to 4 cups a day. And this trend holds true whether you're drinking instant coffee, brewed coffee, or even decaf, which suggests the benefits of coffee might not be solely about caffeine. Another benefit of coffee is its anti-aging properties. Coffee contains a compound called polyphenols, which are antioxidants commonly found in dark-colored fruits and vegetables. One specific type found in coffee is chlorogenic acid, a known anti-aging agent. A 2014 study by the International Society of Dermatology looked at the effects of coffee and polyphenol intake on skin aging in women aged 30 to 60. They found that coffee drinkers had fewer sun-related skin spots, supporting the idea that dark-colored foods and drinks can help protect the skin from aging caused by UV exposure. Let's talk about how coffee can lower the risk of arrhythmia, or irregular heartbeats. Some people think drinking coffee might cause palpitations, but a 2020 study from the University of California found the opposite. Based on data from over 350,000 participants in the UK Biobank, followed for 5 years, they discovered that coffee actually reduces the risk of arrhythmia. Drinking 1 to 2 cups of coffee daily lowered the risk by 10%, 3 to 4 cups lowered it by 14%, and even those drinking more than 5 cups saw a 10% reduction. Another benefit is the potential to prevent depression. Harvard University's School of Public Health conducted a study from 1996 to 2006 with 50,000 women aged around 63. They found that women who drank 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily had a 15% lower chance of developing depression compared to those who didn't drink coffee. And for those drinking 4 cups, the risk dropped by 20%. However, the researchers also noted that they didn't have enough data on people who drank more than 6 cups, so it's unclear if drinking more coffee would offer further protection against depression. 2 years later, in 2013, the same Harvard team found something even more interesting. They examined the relationship between coffee consumption and suicide rates. This time they studied both men and women, 40,000 men and 160,000 women. Results showed that those who drank 2 to 4 cups of coffee per day had a 50% lower risk of suicide. The current theory is that caffeine stimulates dopamine production, which improves mood. Caffeine also seems to reduce the body's production of cortisol, a stress hormone, which can help relieve stress and prevent depression. So if you're feeling stressed, try having 2 to 4 cups of coffee. Now, coffee's 5th benefit, weight loss. Coffee gives you a feeling of fullness, suppressing appetite. Plus, it contains polyphenols, which help turn fat into energy and burn it off. In fact, it wasn't until 2022 that researchers really started investigating which types of coffee might be more effective for weight loss. Before that, surveys simply asked if people drank coffee without specifying which kind. Caffeine also stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, increasing metabolism and energy use. Additionally, when we exercise, our brains release a chemical called adenosine, which makes us feel tired and want to stop. Caffeine blocks this effect, helping us push through fatigue. Just remember, for weight loss benefits, the coffee must be free of sugar and fat, otherwise, the effect disappears. Also, coffee's polyphenols increase stomach acid production, so drinking coffee on an empty stomach is a bad idea since it can lead to stomach issues. Today, I want to introduce the coffee products I'm currently using. By simply adding one small step to our daily coffee routine, we can significantly boost our metabolism, helping us burn fat more effectively, and slow the aging process, keeping a youthful appearance. I'll share a link to the free tutorial in the description below. Let's enjoy coffee in a healthier way together. Moving on, coffee can also reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. In 2017, a study that analyzed over 1.18 million people and 50,000 type 2 diabetes cases found that drinking 5 cups of coffee a day reduced the risk of developing the disease by 30%. On average, each additional cup reduced the risk by 6%. A 10-year study in Japan, which tracked 55,000 people aged 40 to 69, showed that men who drank 3 to 4 cups of coffee daily had a 17% lower risk, while women's risk dropped by 38%. Interestingly, tea didn't show the same effect. The exact reason coffee lowers diabetes risk is still unknown, but researchers speculate that certain compounds in coffee may protect the pancreas beta cells, which produce insulin. With type 2 diabetes being so common and difficult to cure, this is definitely worth noting. Lastly, coffee helps lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease. A 2009 study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease analyzed 1,400 people over 20 years in Northern Europe. It found that people who drank 3 to 5 cups of coffee daily had a 65% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. Further research in animals confirmed that caffeine can reduce the accumulation of beta amyloid protein in the brain, which is believed to contribute to the development of Alzheimer's. By inhibiting this protein, caffeine helps protect the brain from dementia. So, whether it's reducing the risk of heart problems, diabetes, depression, or even Alzheimer's, coffee certainly has a lot going for it. Just remember to balance it out, as too much of anything can lead to diminishing returns. So after hearing all these benefits, you might be tempted to grab a cup of coffee right now, right? Well, hold on for a second. Let's talk about the downsides, because as with everything in life, nothing is perfect. With the good, there's always some bad, and sometimes the bad can be more important, so it's worth hearing this part out. The first issue with coffee is stomach acid. I already mentioned that it can stimulate the production of stomach acid, which can lead to heartburn. If you have any pre-existing stomach problems, coffee can make it worse. Next, coffee can lead to anemia if consumed excessively. A lot of women are already prone to anemia, so they should be extra cautious. Coffee contains tannins, which are great for preventing cavities, but they also bind to iron in the body, preventing its absorption. This is why you should avoid drinking coffee before meals, because you won't be able to absorb the iron from your food. It's best to drink it about 30 minutes after a meal, once your body has absorbed the nutrients it needs. Now, the biggest issue with coffee, and one that most people worry about, is caffeine toxicity. As I mentioned earlier, caffeine is technically a neurotoxin, and drinking too much can lead to toxicity. The symptoms include muscle twitching, increased heart rate, arrhythmia, restlessness, irritability, and in severe cases, confusion, incoherent speech, or even hallucinations. This can be affected by body weight, so if you're smaller, just 5 cups could trigger symptoms. It's quite similar to symptoms of drug overdose. Some people are very sensitive to caffeine and can experience heart palpitations, headaches, diarrhea, dry mouth, or even insomnia after just 1 cup. For older adults, coffee might not be the best choice, especially if their liver function is compromised. If the liver can't break down caffeine properly, it will stay in the body longer, increasing the risk of caffeine toxicity. In such cases, it's better to switch to decaffeinated coffee or even low-caffeine coffee. Not all of coffee's benefits come from caffeine. Many are due to polyphenols, like its anti-aging effects and prevention of arrhythmia and diabetes. But just because you can tolerate caffeine doesn't mean you should go overboard with it. Caffeine is found in a lot of other drinks and foods, like tea, black, green, and oolong, chocolate, soda, cake, ice cream, and energy drinks. That's why caffeine is considered the world's most widely used psychoactive substance. Now, the amount of caffeine varies across different drinks and foods. A cup of coffee typically has about 100 milligrams of caffeine. Black tea has 60 milligrams, green tea 40 milligrams, oolong tea 40 milligrams, and a can of soda has about 30 milligrams. Energy drinks can range from 80 to 140 milligrams of caffeine. Red Bull has 80 milligrams, but larger bottles of energy drinks can contain significantly more, meaning you could experience caffeine toxicity without even touching coffee. Another issue with coffee is insomnia. Some people think that as long as they don't drink coffee at night, they'll sleep just fine. But caffeine has a half-life in the body that lasts 3 to 7 hours, depending on the person, with an average of about 5 hours. So, if you go to bed at midnight and had 2 cups of coffee at 2 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your system by the time you're trying to sleep. This is why some experts advise against drinking coffee in the afternoon. It lingers in your body and can affect your sleep. It might not prevent you from falling asleep, but it could shorten the duration of your sleep. For example, if you normally sleep 8 hours, the leftover caffeine in your system could shave off an hour of your rest. And for pregnant women, the half-life of caffeine extends to about 10 hours. Here's an important note. Caffeine can pass through the placenta and reach the fetus, and because the fetus is so small, it can easily suffer from caffeine toxicity. People with liver disease should also be cautious since caffeine is broken down in the liver. If the liver can't metabolize it, The half-life can stretch to 4 days, and even drinking 10 cups over those 4 days could result in toxicity. So if you have any liver issues, definitely follow your doctor's advice. Also, certain medications can extend caffeine's half-life. Some people wonder why they experience insomnia even if they didn't have coffee. It's because caffeine is hiding in a lot of foods. Eating chocolate before bed, for example, can affect you just like a cup of coffee would. Even coffee-flavored ice cream can have enough caffeine to disturb your sleep. So, if you're sensitive to caffeine, it's best to avoid cola, chocolate, and even some cakes before bed. If even small amounts of coffee make you feel unwell, try switching to decaf. However, keep in mind that decaf won't give you the alertness that regular coffee does. Now, here's a fun fact. Research from Japan has found that the smell of coffee alone can improve mood and cognition. Different coffee beans produce different effects. For example, the aroma from Guatemalan beans or Blue Mountain coffee is said to make people feel relaxed and comfortable, which can even help with sleep. This could be why some people spend hours at a coffee shop. It's not just about the coffee. The scent itself can be soothing, like listening to relaxing music. On the other hand, Brazilian coffee varieties like Santos, Mandaling, and Hawaiian Kona have scents that can actually make you feel more alert, even without drinking them. So if you want the mental boost without the caffeine, maybe just a sniff of these could do the trick.